Order of the Parks Authority for Monday, January 25th. We could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Present.
Present.
Here.
Here.
Present.
Here.
Present. Here.
And just going on down the list, we'll do the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of minutes from December 21st. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Approval of minutes for December the 30th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Old business. We need to elect a Parks Authority president and vice president. So, open up nominations. If there's someone wants to nominate,
Are we going to do these one at a time, or would you like to do these together?
we'll do president first.
Well, I would like to nominate Ed Zastopny.
Second.
Absentee.
Second. There's a motion in a couple seconds for Ed to stay on as president. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. And then for vice president then, is there
I'd like to make a motion that Lisa Gill be vice president. Second.
a motion and a second for Lisa Gill to be vice president? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of Lisa Gill say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. And I'll turn it over to Vice President.
No, I'm just going to stay right here. So the next step is the park master plan with Matt. Is he here? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Wow, it's really loud. For those who do not know me, I'm Matt Gullo. I work with Covert Hawkins Architects right here in Jeffersonville. I'm a local landscape architect and urban planner. I work with the Parks Department quite often on a lot of various different projects. Worked with them on Vissing Park, completing that park, Worley, and then currently, why I'm up here is we're working on two parks that were started last year. The first one here is the master plan. It's a 5-year master plan that the state requires you to do every 5th year to apply for grants. This master plan started last year in the spring, collecting data of all your existing parks, gathering that information and compiling it into types of parks that you have, and then going around to each individual park and assessing it according to ADA, sustainability, the plant cultures, the walking paths, if are they cracked, are they in good shape, usability, things like that. We since that time, we knew that the Parks Authority might be adjusted, so we've waited to go to the next step. I've explained this to Paul in a lot more detail, but the next step is actually going through the visioning of the 5-year master plan, and that will involve a lot of you and getting information from you along with the community. I'll be doing community events to try to gain understanding of wants and wishes, try to get goals and objectives from the Parks Authority, and then getting a vision put together to explain what the next 5 years is going to be. It doesn't mean you have to achieve it, but at least it gives you something that you know wants to happen sooner than later, and also puts a budget to it. So that's what we're doing right now. So that first part is pretty well done. I've gone over it with Paul in terms of the existing conditions, the history of the parks, the park board makeup, things like that, all things that you may know. Some parts you might know. How many parks you actually have are parks that you maintain that aren't even yours. So it goes into a lot of detail of that. Is there any questions so far?
I have one.
Sure.
I know we have to submit that to DNR. I learned that when I was an IAP for it because we never did submit that.
Yes.
When is that deadline? When does this have to be
You can
submitted?
submit that anytime.
Okay.
As soon as I have a draft put together, I'll submit that, and they'll look it over, and then I'll finish it up, and they'll approve it.
We have not had a plan in the past for a while now, is that right? Or
We've had a plan, and Paul knows more about it, but it was done by a previous company. I'm trying to expand on what was originally done to give it more of a vision of where we're headed and spaces that might be applicable for gathering space for major parks or budgeting for certain parks that are already in place that may not be maintained well or things like that. I don't know if you want to add to that or not.
I think the old plan went through 2014, so there is a little break between the old and the new one.
Okay.
But the last one was last year or so.
Okay.
So it has been a while. Again, I was sent forward on this project, I guess sometime in the spring. So it's been on hiatus just because of all the things going on, and plus the new authority/city council that is in place now. I wanted to make sure it's actually great timing. Now that you have a whole new board and you'll be here for a while, you'll really understand what you have and where you're going and where you want to be. Any other questions? All right. Let me just stay up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, now you're up for the
The Worley Athletic Complex. So those of you who do not know, the building, which is Phase 2, and the parking lot that's added to the current facility out on Charlestown Pike, that was approved and moved forward in December of last year. And we have selected a contractor, David Construction. They are moving forward. We actually had our pre-con meeting last week. Paul and Ricky Romans were there in attendance. And they are really just mobilizing on site. Nothing's really happened too much right now, submitting paperwork, things like that. But you'll start to see a lot more involvement in the coming weeks and months. The idea is to have substantial completion by August of this year. And all alternates were accepted, so the full project is moving forward, which involves the full building, elevator, parking lot, resurfacing of the existing parking lot, and plaza area. So it's going to be a really nice finale, if you will, for this park, and it was always intended when the project was started.
And so the new members are aware, how much is still in the contingency for that, put in our,
How much is in the contingency on the new building? 100,000.
Yes, 110 with the allowance for a sound system. Any other questions?
do the new members, have you all seen anything on this, the plans or anything on the parking lot and the building, so you all are up to speed on the project?
This is, and just to make sure, that the building is not the original building that was going to go there. It's not the sportsplex with the multi-surface floor. Okay. It's changed.
Yep, that's a great point, and that's actually something that might go into that 5-year master plan of, I know the Parks Authority has always wanted a major field house building, and where do we place that? So it's something to think about.
Anything else on Worley?
Excuse me?
Anything else on Worley?
That's all I have.
All right. No further questions or comments from, okay, then we'll move on.
All right, thank you.
We'll move on to new business with the Parks Board overview.
Thank you. Oh, wow. At our council retreat during the trolley ride, I went over a lot of things that the parks do for the city of Jeff, in addition to parks and everything else. But at this point, I wanted to go over the Parks Board's particularly. We've got 4 parks boards at this time. This is one of them, the Parks Authority Board. And then there's a Parks Authority Advisory Board, a Parks Advisory Facilities Board, and a Parks Advisory Special Events and River Stage Board, so 4 boards. The other 3 boards are made up of citizens and people who work in the special events industry and or facilities industry or have been a part of that in the past. I'm just going to go over some names here. And the reason being that we're talking about this now is their 2-year stint, 2-year appointments, thank you, is up or was up at the end of December. So I've been going to each of the meetings and speaking to those individuals about re-upping for another 2 years. I came to the Parks Authority last year in, I think, November, December to see if the Parks Authority had any ideas or wanted to replace anybody. Basically what I did is they're offered the position if they want to come back. Or if they don't want to come back, then we go to the council. If it's a council appointment, or the mayor, if it's a mayor appointment, and see who they want to replace them. Almost all of them came back. We had one situation, Teddy Throckmorton served on 2 of our boards and had to be replaced. Obviously you know this, but his passing left openings on 2 boards. One was the Parks Authority Advisory Board and the other was the Facilities Board. And both appointments were mayor appointments, so I went to the mayor and he had some suggestions. We moved Ralph Scales up. He was already on the Facilities Board and made him an appointment on the Advisory Board. So that Advisory Board is Kevin Burke, Nikki Dillon, who's the Aquatics Director for the City of Jeff Parks, Scott Edwards, who was the head of the Sports Board when it was in existence, and that kind of fell off, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Sandy Knott, who is part of the Facilities Board, and Ralph Scales, who's a part of the Facilities Board. Kevin Burke is part of the Special Events Board, so that's how they're tied in. And the way that works is there's one member from each of the other boards that is put onto the Advisory Board. We used to have 4 sub-boards, Facilities and Special Events. I know this is confusing, bear with me. Facilities and Special Events are 2 existing boards. Sports and Programs are boards that we had, and the numbers diminished, declined. We couldn't get people to stay on the boards, so we dropped off. We dropped those boards. We can revisit that at your request or at your suggestion if you like. We can try that, but the problem we had with the sports boards is we had hoped to get coaches, basketball coach from Jeff High, baseball, football, and their time is limited because not only do they coach teams, they're also coaching games, coaching practices. They're involved with the youth of the city, like Derek Ellis, who also, in addition to being the baseball coach, works with the Little League, coaching, board member, clinics, and things like that. Same thing with the football coach. In addition to Jeff High, he works closely with our youth football program through the park system. So we could never keep people on that board, so we kind of canceled that board. And as well as the programs board, we try to get people involved in like for example, we had somebody with the community and schools on there, and her schedule got busy, and then she retired, and we had other people on these boards. We just couldn't keep them together. So we're left with the Facility Board, Special Events Board, and there are 1 member from each of those boards that get pushed up to the Parks Authority Advisory Board. So I just went over the Advisory Board. Let me just touch on the facilities. P.K. Falkenstein, Sandy Knott, Mike Reynolds, and Ralph Scales. And then Tim Franklin took the place of Teddy Throckmorton on that board. And then the Special Events is Kevin Burke, Pat Elder, Fred Gesswein, Sarah Simpson, and Barbara Wilson. And, they do a number of things. First of all, they meet once a month. They provide reports on different things like the facilities. Each of the facilities members have 5 to 6, 7 parks that they're responsible for. And when I say responsible, they just keep an eye on them. They go out and they may see things that I don't see or see things that my maintenance people don't see or have suggestions for these parks. Like they may say we need a bike rack at Vissing Park or we need more parking at Wathen Park. So they're always looking for things that maybe we don't see. Anticipated projects that we may have for different areas. and develop, and recommendations. And then the same thing with the events. They discuss the past events that went on, like Jeff Goes Country or Steamboat Days. They talk about future events and any recommendations for new programs for the new year. Any questions on boards?
I'll just make a comment.
Uh-huh.
I was going to ask about the sports and the programs. I had that written down because those are our original. And I understand when we first set this up, just background information, we're trying to help. It seemed like our community was unusual because you go to other communities and they have feeder programs for their high school. And their high school coaches are very involved with the younger programs, bringing them up, and ours wasn't quite that way, not any way organized. So that was one of the thoughts. And you have a good thought, you think, and then it doesn't pan out because they just didn't have time, as Paul said. I think they liked the idea of pulling everybody together and being part of the parks, but it just didn't work. But these people that are on this list, I think Parks is the only, from my perspective, that I know where there's an attendance requirement to be on the board. If you miss how many meetings, you're supposed to be off. I don't know if we do that, but...
Right. I think it is 2, but we've never had anybody, unless it's an emergency situation, that's missed more than 2 meetings.
So you try to get really good people that are invested, and the meetings are through the day sometime. I know some of them take off work or whatever to come.
Yes.
So, that's that. I just want to make that comment.
Well, thank you. And to add to that, Nathan, the coaches do work with our youth programs. For example, Coach Luce just came in this year, basketball coach at Jeff High School, very excited about the youth. If you've been to ball games, he recognizes the junior high kids of the week before the game starts. I think is a very cool idea. The other day at the girls game, they had the youth girls teams playing at halftime. Very neat. So these coaches are working with us. The new football coach has worked with us last year with our football program and intends to continue to do that. And then, like I mentioned, Coach Ellis and the soccer coach works with our youth too. So anyway, it's a good relationship or partnership. Okay, I'll move on if that's okay.
Yep, that's fine.
The next on the agenda there is city partnership, and for those of you who have been on it for a while, know the story. For the new ones, I'll kind of give you a little update on where we came from and where we want to go. A couple years ago, we talked as a committee that we'd like to see more money brought in for some of our special events. We spend a lot of money on our River Stage events. And some of our other special events like Halloween and downtown and Easter egg hunt and things like that. So a lot of money comes out of our budget, and we'd like to help offset those with sponsorships. And it's always been in the back of my mind that that we start this program since day one in 2012 when I started. Well, we finally got around to it in 2013 or 2014, excuse me. We hired on contract Dave Simpson, who's sitting behind me here, to go out and get sponsorships. And Dave has done a fantastic job. There's no doubt about it. He is very energetic. He goes out and puts together programs. First of all, he put together a program for sponsorships. I worked with Little League for years, and part of our sponsorship was you handed a piece of paper to whoever it is in the city of Jeff, and we sent them out to over 200 people. You mailed it or handed it to them, and then you waited for it to come back, and they got their name on the back of a jersey, or they got their banner on the fence there. But it never gave them I shouldn't say never. It didn't give them the ROI that maybe they would have liked to have seen, the return on their investment. And so they put together a program with several benefits that their money is giving them. It may be signage at a concert. It may be shout-outs during our Facebook shout-outs. It may be radio announcements. It could be a T-shirt, mention on T-shirt. And I'll let Dave go over some of that here in a minute. But like I mentioned, Dave has done a fantastic job putting this program together. In less than 9 months, we've already raised over $200,000. And this is being at a disadvantage of hitting people at an odd time of the year. We started in April, I think it was. Well, businesses start their sponsorships and their budgets at the end of the previous year, in October, November, December. So we're hitting them in March or April after they've already had their budgets, and we still have received over a couple $100,000, and we're really excited about 2016 and the opportunities we have. So that being said, when we started this, I always intended for this to be a contract employee until we determined that we could do more with a full-time employee. We ran into a few roadblocks with the contract employee, not many because we've raised a lot of money, but there are some things that Dave will go over here, benefits on why, on how we can do better with this program. And I think you all received this, I think it's a 4-page information packet. What I asked Dave to do is put together some information on what you think the council needs to know moving forward with this position. What we'd like to do is ask you to make this a full-time position instead of a contract work. And we can work out those details later. We're not talking about, let's talk about money tonight and percentages and all that. We just want to take it to you and see if you think it is worth making a full-time position with the city. So at this point, I'm going to let Dave speak.
Well, Paul, just to add, we don't have that in the packet, so, oh, you got it?
I'm going to go print it back.
You didn't get that packet? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought, maybe it went out today?
It came out separate from the packet.
Thanks, Paul. Hello, how's everybody this evening? Thanks for having me, excuse me, out to talk a little bit about city partners. As Paul mentioned, in early 2015, back into 2014, the idea came about as to how, from myself sitting on multiple Steamboat Days boards and other committees, how we can reach sponsors and businesses and start to grow partnerships and business partnerships, throughout the community. At that time, the idea came to kind of revamp the City Partners Program and to put together a program, something that works, something that we think will work and we can grow upon. We did that, and today, 2015, start of 2016, I'm proud to say that we are at a little over $250,000 within 9-10 months. That's local businesses, corporations, and that we've gained support from that have helped us get to this point. So I'm pretty proud of that, and the goal when we started it was not just to get one-off sponsorships and one-off deals from local companies, but to build that partnership, to build something with them alongside the city of Jeffersonville that we continue to gain their trust, help them grow their brands, and move into the direction of gaining long-term city partners and long-term partnerships with these companies. Some of which you've all heard throughout 2015 and the start of 2016 include Coca-Cola Corporation, CCBCC, Papa John's, Amazon, George Fallon Sons, Child Place, Security Pros, Amatrol, Clark Memorial Hospital, Cool Chevrolet, Indiana American Water, Duke Energy, Monarch Beverage, Miller Coors, Ports Indiana, Walnut Ridge, Summit Media, and many more. I don't want to bore you with names. Some in 2016 that we're already talking to and presenting to for the start of this season include Thornton Oil, Republic Bank, AT&T, Verizon Wireless, Kroger, Meyer Company, Denzinger Family Dentistry, Kelly Services, Brown Foreman, Norton Healthcare, Texas Roadhouse, Stockyards Bank, and the list goes on. So as you can hear, we're getting in front of anybody and everybody that we can and saying, look at the opportunity that Jeffersonville has alongside its community and city growth and the events that we have going on to partner in a way for them to take their brand to the community and not only support the community and the events that we put on, but to help grow their brands to the public. So with that being said, Paul brought up the potential for a city role. And this is something that as we started this, it was contracted. To see how we did with it, to see where we could go with it, and what may come about it. And as we did, we have had roadblocks, and some of those, as small as how am I compensated? Now, where do these funds go, and how does that work? Well, I'm compensated through the city of Jeffersonville for a percentage of what we go out and gain for the city of Jeffersonville. The city of Jeffersonville, in turn, pays me for going out and gathering this business and building these partnerships. But those questions coming up, is something that we want to make sure that the partners know that they can count on me for long-term too. And that's something as you build partnerships and as you sell yourself and not just a program to people that you're dealing with day to day in corporations like Amazon and Child Place and Coca-Cola, Papa John's, these type of companies, you want to give them assurance that you're handling their business in the way that it needs to be handled and that you care about their brand and want to continue to build a partnership with them into the future. So year-long, non-interrupted focus on maintaining and continuing and building long-term city partnerships is a goal that we think that by making this a city road could help that happen. In addition to that and many others, the ability to get more involved with the city vendors side of our business, the vendors that the city is paying out top dollar to handle things that happen throughout the city and projects that happen throughout the city, and make sure in turn as well that they're looking into their marketing budgets and able to give back and help us continue to do these events throughout the community. City partner value, event-related, in-kind and cash sponsors, impact they all have on event budgets, and the equality that we want to find for these sponsors. Compensation issues and long periods without compensation, creating potential hardships. There's many a times when, we go to work and, for instance, right now we're start a season, but the time that's going in and the effort that's going in and with me putting together the package for 2016 and presenting it to these potential sponsors and supporters of the events that won't start until later on in the season is quite a gap. And a lot of times those sponsor funds don't come in until later in the closer to the season, and that's something that is tough to juggle at times. And I think that this role would guarantee that there's something coming in while we're working in the off season on putting things together. Current and potential businesses questions on how the role is affiliated, paid, etc. when meeting to discuss partnerships with companies. Growth of the program year to year. Business partnerships are built when people partner with people, creating assurance in the minds of our partners. Maintaining and continuing long-term city partnerships. Business relationships are created and kept as the program grows year to year. Our goal is to assure businesses understand the city cares about their business partnership and that we are always focused on working on ways to enhance their return on investment as a company. This role is very involved in the off-season, as we just discussed, and preparation for the following year and prospecting is the key to our success. This position does carry a lot of extended hours, which we found out in this past year, and I knew going into that those hours would be there. But that's something that we found out is even more, because not only presenting to the sponsors and our potential city partners the importance of them getting involved with events, but I'm also hands-on in making sure that during these events that their brain is where it's supposed to be, that they're getting what they're supposed to out of the events, which means attending the events and talking to the sponsors, greeting them, thanking them for coming out, and making sure that they enjoy the time that they have and the money that they put in to help the event be possible. Partners program to the next level and continue its growth over the next several years. This would continue to bring bigger and better events to the city of Jeffersonville for our community to enjoy each year. So in closing, I appreciate all that have supported the program from the beginning. I've got many leads and much support from many of you on the Parks Authority and the City Council, which has been great and gotten us to the point we are now. I'd also like to thank all those who have stood behind the vision of the program, understand all the hard work and effort that goes into gaining support from all the businesses in our community, and city partners, and to thank generous businesses and city partners while working to bring exciting family-friendly events to our community. With that, I'll pass over any questions to the authority.
In one meeting we had, do we got a sponsor for that ice skating rink?
Yes, matter of fact, Indiana American Water, Amazon, Duke Energy, Coca-Cola, I believe, in their vending side, and Papa John's as well, and there's a couple others as well. Yep. For first year and off-season, it was tough to grab those last end-of-the-year budgets that we really almost passed, but the good news with that is like we discussed, getting in to discuss these opportunities late in the year with a lot of these potential partners has opened the door for us in 16 and the years to come, where now we've got those contacts. A lot of them are happy with what they've seen in 15, and many of them are reaching out to me at the start of 16, opposed to the other way around, asking what they can do to help and how they can get involved in a bigger way. So.
Dave, since we have new members, can you email us out a breakdown of what goes to what event. I mean, you're given lump sums, but the new members, they haven't seen anything, especially if we're going to look at making this a city employee, the pros versus the cons, I guess you would say. They would have a clear understanding of what you've brought in for each event and really see the breakdown, see how it all works.
Sure, absolutely. Uh-huh.
Another, the river stage, we score that up there with Mount Vernon. Might hit on them.
Yeah, we've talked to, with Mount Vernon,
Chuck Lee from Mount Vernon.
with Mount Vernon Storage, I can't think of the name of them now. We have talked with Chuck in 15. I think we reached the end of where he was at in regards to budgets, but we've got him on the list for 2016 as well. Good idea.
If I could just also add that I support us trying to have a position within the city. I think it certainly will bring in much more than the cost of that. And I've been against having him contracted because it's kind of taboo when you're a not-for-profit raising money to have your fundraiser be on where you're getting the commission. I forgot what I was going to say. Get commission. That's just kind of not the right way to go about that. One of the things that we'll have to address and deal with is part of why we started this is all our programs in parks were being very successful. Example, just River Stage, all the concerts. Well, we started a number of years back and our budget was down here. Well, now our budget's way up here. And trying to keep that going and outdo ourselves every year, or at least keep this high bar for us, we said we have to offset that some way because we can't just always pay for it with taxpayer dollars. So what I would encourage us to consider in the future, assuming if we go down this road, if that's what the commission wants, is for us maybe when we do our budgets every year to put in a lower amount for each one of our projects that we want to do, say the ice rink and say the river stage, and all the money he's raising this year, whatever they're going to sponsor, and most likely a lot of it's already paid for, a lot of it's in the budget, maybe not all, but a lot of it's in the budget, then we will take that money and hang on to it, and then we'll be able to roll it forward for next year where we don't continue to, because what we have to do is we have to put it back in the fund that it's supposed to have come out of. And so I'm just trying to think of a way where we don't keep using our levy dollars for parks, keep raising that, and then we're also raising this money over here, and so we got this big pot of money over here. We need to lower what we're putting in and start rolling that into it. And we just, from a financial standpoint, have to think ahead of that and figure the best way to keep that funding rolling through the sponsorship.
To add to that, new members don't realize that since I've been on council and Parks Authority, we've had to put up just about it has been all of gaming just to support the parks budget because it's fallen short in so many areas. So we would put all of gaming in, which would average around $250,000 or so just to offset that cost. So that was another reason why we went to sponsorship, because of that fact that we were just trying to pull money from everywhere and to fund parks.
Thank you.
So the question is, do I come back to the Finance Committee meeting, or should we wait until budget time? Budget time is what you recommend, or?
No, I wouldn't wait. You're asking me, right?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm one of 9. I wouldn't wait till budget time. I would do it earlier. However, I think we all know there's a number of employees the cities are wanting to add, the city's wanting to add, and we just need to have that in that list as we're making our decisions what we can afford and not afford. The good thing for Dave is he does generate quite a bit of revenue, and that helps with offsetting his cost. But that I would just get on that list, Paul. And I'm not sure when I think we're going to have a workshop, I think, on that, on new employees that next month or 2.
Great. Okay. I wanted to recognize Matt. I know he introduced himself to you guys earlier. Since I've been on the job in 2012. Matt's been involved in a lot of projects. He mentioned Vissing Park and the Worley Soccer Complex and now the master plan. Done a great job. I enjoy working with Matt and hope to continue to do that in the future.
Appreciate it.
Mhm. I know we've got a council meeting coming up, so I'm not going to bore you with a lot of details, but I just want to give you a little bit of information on what's happening in the Parks Department at this time of the year. Ice Rink has one more weekend coming up, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll shut down on Sunday. On Monday, we'll come back and start tearing it down. It'll go back into storage until next year. At that time, we'll also take down the snowflakes on Spring Street. I know a lot of people wonder why the snowflakes are up after Christmas, but I look at them as a holiday or a winter decoration and not a Christmas decoration. So we keep them up until the rink goes down, and then they'll be coming down and put into storage. And then in February, once the rink is shut down, I'll come back and give you a report of what we've done this year. It's been a pretty good season. We've had some warm weather and we've had some really cold weather, and we've had a couple issues with parts breaking down. As a matter of fact, yesterday, for those of you who don't know, we weren't open because we had 5 to 7 cracks in the ice that happened because of the change of temperatures. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Mhm.
I thought you said we're going to store it. Did we buy it?
No, we haven't. I should correct myself there. We don't store it. The company we rent from stores it, but they store it here locally.
Okay.
It's the only place they use it is Jeffersonville. So it'll sit in a storage facility for 9 months, and then they'll break it back out.
Thank you.
So yes, I'll bring a report in February, and we'll talk about the numbers. Something that, question that's coming up that I'm getting is the contract for maintenance at Big Four. I'm not sure how much all of you know about this. Has something to do with redevelopment, not being able to pay the rent for maintenance on that. The current contract with redevelopment, I think, ends in April. So I'm anticipating that we're going to take over, and I'm being told that UEZ might be, and Dustin, maybe you can comment on this, might be coming in on halves on the maintenance of Big Four Park. But I just want to bring that to your attention and see if you had any direction for me, or just sit back until April or May when we get the bill and then pay the bill. I'm not sure how much any of you know on this or want to speak on it, but I just want to give you an update on that. And also the Big Four security contract, we've paid, I think we've split that with redevelopment and UEZ for the past year or so, and that'll come up again soon too. So just things to be thinking about.
What kind of money are we talking? Do you know?
I had a feeling you'd ask me that. Yeah, it is, yeah. I'm afraid to speak because I don't know exactly. But we have until April, and I'll get that information to present to you next month.
What Paul, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What Paul's referring to is at Big Four Park, no city employees do the maintenance at Big Four Park as far as grass cutting and landscaping. That's all been contracted out by redevelopment, because redevelopment still owns that property. The state legislature has said that redevelopment is not allowed to maintain property. They will not be able to contract to continue that upkeep. So it's going to fall back on the Parks Department, and either our guys are going to have to take care of it, which I don't know that we're readily equipped to do right now, or the Parks Department is going to have to pay for that park to be kept up.
Thank you.
Is it going to be turned over to Parks? Is redevelopment going to turn it over? Because I haven't heard.
I've not heard either. I've asked the question, and I don't think, and I don't want to speak for redevelopment, but I don't know that that's going to happen. I asked that question last year because I wanted to get ahead of the game on this maintenance contract, and I'm not sure if that, and we still need to know about the portion of Duffy's that redevelopment owned, Duffy's Landing, on whether that's going to be given to the parks, and Allison Brook Park. It's been in existence for a couple of years, and redevelopment still owns that. So those are some questions I just haven't gotten answered. And I don't know if it's a matter of having Les and Scott sit down and talk about it or what, but I feel like we need to get some direction on these 3 properties.
Does that pose a legal question, Scott? Because you have always been telling us that we can only contract and do things for what park owns.
I mean, in my opinion, yeah, I think it becomes a legal issue about spending parks fund money for non-parks property. I do think that's a legal issue that needs to be rectified. Either the properties need to be transferred, or there has to be some sort of other mechanism.
Could I set up a meeting with Scott and Les to discuss that? Would you give me that direction? Okay.
That's
So-
the direction we need to go in.
May I be recognized? So even though the city owns it, it's a problem for one department to care for another department's property? Is that what I'm
Well,
hearing?
if you look at State Board of Accounts opinions over the years, even though, if you have one department owning it, but you have a dedicated fund, that's where the problem comes. Because we've had this issue before, when you have dedicated funds for property, with the sewer department was using certain funds for other city property, and we should have State Board of Accounts. So it's a State Board of Accounts issue.
Okay.
That's where it comes into play.
So one other property that we need to start thinking about is the Colston Park property. It used to be the home of the old adult softball league, and when we moved that up to Vissing, it kind of just serves as a practice area for baseball, football, soccer teams. There's still lights there in that park, which we could remove and use at the Little League Park or other facilities. So I just want to start the conversation on Colston Park to see where you guys want to go with that park, and maybe discuss it with the mayor's office and what their vision is for that park. I talked to Ed about that the other day, and he'd like to start that discussion. A couple of things, and I'll finish up here. The Aquatic Center sign is due in any time. We're going to start demolition of the old sign probably next week, pouring a pad, and then the new sign will hopefully go in sometime in February. I'm very excited about that for the new members. It's a digital sign, which we'll be able to put messages on there. It won't be a scrolling sign that scrolls every 5 seconds. It'll be a message that stays on there all day long, and sometime after midnight, we'll program it to switch to a new message. So I think with that and some of the other things that we've done, passes the planning and zoning's questions on signs and digital signs, or at least answers those questions that they had for the signage. So we'll be able to advertise river stage concerts, programs, sports and athletic signups, and all different kinds of things. And the ease is you can do it on your phone inside the Aquatic Center or upstairs in the parks office. We can program the message we want on there, and we can put messages that'll rotate every day for a month on there. So we're very excited about that, and that will be in play hopefully by the end of February. At Duffy's Landing, we stabilized the green space area there, and we'll try to get back on Duffy's in the spring. The redevelopment committee has approved $150,000 for the second phase of Duffy's Landing, and that includes some picnic area, resurfacing the old parking lot, some benches, a little more parking down near the river's edge, and some sidewalks. One other question I want to bring to you is the question I get a lot is and maybe this isn't a question until we take ownership or if we take ownership, but Big Four Station Park, we're getting a lot of questions. Can I have my wedding in the pavilion there, or can we put a party together and reserve that rental space? We do rent a lot of our gazebos and shelters. We have them at Water Park and Lanston Park out here in Claysburg neighborhood, Watson Park. We have them in a lot of our parks, and we rent them out for a price. And we do pretty well with them. But very early on, I thought it was, it may not be the best thing to do at Big Four Park because it's such a central park in Jeffersonville. A lot of people are using it, and do we tell the public that they can't come into the pavilion because the Johnson family has rented it for a day? So that was my thinking on it. Maybe that's the wrong way of thinking. Maybe we should allow it for rentals, but I just want to open up the discussion for that.
Well, my concern would be, how would you stop traffic coming over from the Big Four walking bridge?
Yes,
I mean,
you
there's
couldn't.
no way we can't close that. It closes for nothing. So
Right. If someone,
they come over and say, sorry, go back. I mean,
that's exactly my problem. Somebody rents it and somebody strolls over and walks into their area, can't kick them out. I mean, you can't show them a permit and say, I have this.
Authority to tell them to turn around and go back because we don't have the authority of the walking bridge itself,
Right.
correct?
So, yes, so currently, we're just telling anybody with that question that that is one of the parks in the city of Jeff that you cannot rent out. You can use it as first come, first serve. If you want to show up and have a baby shower in the pavilion there, you're welcome to, but anybody can walk in there and get in your area. So that's what we'll continue to do unless I have some other information or direction.
I guess in my opinion, that would actually be more because it isn't Parks property, it is redevelopment. I would just ask redevelopment commission next time you have a conversation, or just ask Rob Ways, what's their opinion on it? Because it is
Right.
their project, it is their property.
Right.
And if it's something that they want to do, then we can go from there.
Okay, the last two things I have is we are currently working on putting together a program for Thunder Over Louisville that may include a national act, musical act, may not be a country act, maybe classic rock, but we're looking to maybe beef up Thunder this year. We're still working out all the details. We're looking to add that to our sponsorship package for 2016 and the future. But I want to give you a heads up on that. And then we have been meeting with an organizer of a pretty large event that would bring 20 to 25,000 people to the Big Four River Stage area every year. So we've had some discussions with this event organizer where they'd want to move it from Louisville to Jeffersonville. And I want to give you a heads up. I can't mention who it's with right now, but it could be a large event, and we're just in the early discussion stages. And that would be for 2017, not 2016, so we're early on in the process. That's all I have.
I do have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
It concerns your city partnership discussion. With us selling sponsorships, signs, banners, whatever, say at River Stage, have we already tabulated what's the possibility for that? Do we have a number that we can't exceed? Because there's only so many places to put a sign. There's only so many shirts that can get made.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been a tabulation formed to see what a max would be, and therefore people would have to raise the bar to participate in that? Do you
Right.
follow
I do. Dave, you want to come up a second? Dave's put together a program that breaks it down into levels. It might be the presenting sponsor, and then you have a silver and a bronze sponsor, and so on and so forth. Can you answer that? I mean, we don't really have a ceiling right now where we've got to stop taking sponsorships.
Right. No, at this time, there isn't a ceiling. Because of the amount of events that the city puts on through a specific season, all months throughout the season, even into the winter months as we are with the ice skating rink right now. There's presenting level sponsorships, which is they're the actual promoting the top spot for the event, similar to Jeff Goes Country, which was Papa John's last year. And then each event has the opportunity to have a presenting level sponsorship. Underneath that level which there's one level for presenting level. Naturally, a company wouldn't want to compete with another company at that level. But there's multiple levels for supporting sponsors. So gold to silver to bronze to even down to copper in some events, depending on the size of the event, for instance, Steamboat Days. So the opportunity that's there at this point, if we get to a point where we feel like we have a ceiling, it'd be a really good problem to have, just because of the amount of opportunity that there is and how many sponsors that we have that we can reach.
Thank you.
But I understand what you're saying. And in regards to opportunity in and around banners and signs and shirts, the spectrum goes a lot more broad than that, from media, on-air, TV, impressions, social media. A lot of the larger companies that you deal with, the signage and the direct visual event to event, the person-to-person contact that they're getting is important, but in the end, those companies want to see impressions, which means how often is their name being mentioned, how much television presence are they getting, how much radio presence are they getting in a geographic area. Those are the numbers we can really put some hard value to them for. So that's where we focus the most. The others are absolutely added benefits to them, but it's a pretty good size package. The benefits definitely, in our opinion, outweigh the total cost that they're involved in and as far as what they're putting up. So, any other questions?
I have a question for Paul.
No, thanks.
The park in Claysburg, I've lost the big...
Lansden.
Did we ever get new benches in there? There was the where you would sit, there was wood, and some of them were rotten and all, and we brought it up.
Yes, we don't have them yet, but we're working on them in the off-season. And I skipped over that, what our maintenance people have been working on in the off-season. That's one of them. We're building picnic tables. And we do purchase picnic tables, the heavy metal ones like you see at Big Four Park. Those purchased by redevelopment, don't get me wrong there. But the parks do have the metal ones, but we also do a lot of the wood picnic tables, which we build in-house. And we're working on benches as well. But the maintenance crew have been working on that in the off-season. Snow removal, obviously, when I was at the retreat the other day, I kind of went over a list of things that we do, and it's more than just cutting grass and doing landscaping. The city asked for our help in snow removal because we have a couple of vehicles that we put blades on that can help with that. So we can do some of the smaller neighborhoods when the city is concentrating on the main arteries. So we worked last week and a lot of last week on doing that. We're doing equipment repair. We're painting inside the Ken Ellis. We did a little more painting in the field house. We're remodeling Little League restrooms at the big field, building picnic tables, and another thing that we do, we get requests a lot from the neighborhood associations. They purchase banners and we install them on the poles in downtown Jeff. We did Claysburg, we do Franklin Commons, Rose Hill, and a lot of them. So we enjoy doing that as long as we have time to do it, and we usually do it in the off-season when we do have some time. So I'll stay up here for any more questions.
Any more questions for Paul? Okay, I'm going to move on because of the time. Parks Authority Attorney Report. Looks here we have a Steamboat Committee amendment.
Yes, I have one thing. I'm sorry that this is not in the packet. This is just a minor change for two members of the advisory committee. Paul had sent this to me, and Paul asked me to do an amendment to our resolution regarding about the members who are appointed to that committee. I think the two members that are being changed, Shane Corbin, since he's no longer an employee of the city, Shane Corbin was the representative from the Public Arts Committee, and Paul had asked me, said that Don Spiker from the Public Arts Committee will be Shane's replacement to this committee, and then I believe Candy Stewart had been the representative from the Special Events Board. I think since she's no longer part of that board, Paul had indicated that Barbara Wilson from the Special Events Board will be that new appointment. Then, of course, you'll see the blank, the city council appointee. Traditionally, there's been two city council members who are appointed to this advisory committee. So I don't know if that's been, I don't know if the city council's acted on that, because I think it was Lisa and Connie. Connie's obviously no longer in the city council, so the city council will have to, make that appointment of, two members from this actual council. Not now, obviously, the city council.
About that in one of the last meetings. The only thing I want to change is the language. Instead of saying Lisa Gill City Council, it's Lisa Gill City Council appointee.
Well, the way we have it, I had a city council appointee. I didn't have Lisa or Connie's name in there because I didn't know who the city council appointee is going to be. See, we've done that before where it just says city council appointee, and then they will decide at the next meeting or whatever you all want to who will be the city council appointee. Because whether it's
It
Lisa.
doesn't have to be a council member because Connie has been coming to the meetings this year because Paul had asked her to
Okay.
stay on. That was something that, and then I didn't even think about having to.
Yeah, that's up to you all, whether you all want to do that or not. He had written on their city council appointment or appointee, that's the way I read it, so, yeah, I was looking at your handwriting there, so I just followed what he scratched on the sheet for me.
I guess if you guys want to vote to approve the changes, or however you want to handle it.
Do we have a number for this?
It would be Resolution 1, this is our first Parks meeting of the year, so it'd be Resolution 1. 2016 R1.
Make a motion to approve 2016 R1.
I'll second it.
We got a motion, a second, to pass 2016 R1. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Scott. Is there anything else that you need?
Are we sticking with the same appointments then?
Huh?
Are we staying with the same appointments then, or are we switching?
Well, we have to make those appointments in city council, correct? So that would be
Yes,
Matt
because
would
this
have to
board
bring
technically is
that.
the Parks Authority, it's not city council.
Right.
I didn't know that was going to be an issue, so Connie and I have been attending all the meetings because we started meetings back in November, so. But it's up to the pleasure of the council what they.
We would like to continue, we made a decision, we didn't want to to change any appointments unless they wanted to be removed from it or the council wanted to make changes. So I guess if you want to add it to the council meeting to vote on Lisa Bill, County Sellers, that's what we recommend.
We'll add it at the end, just to vote on our appointments officially.
But we still need to pass this around for everybody to sign. You got the vote for and
Yeah.
so I'll just take it down and we'll just pass it that way. So you didn't have anything further, Scott?
No, it's on there.
Okay, I'm gonna move on. Was there any public comment?
No, it's not yet for the.
Okay, then we'll move on to Parks Authority member comments, and we'll start with Council White, Parks Authority member White.
I have no
I'm
comment.
sorry. No comment? No comment. Scott?
No comment.
No comment.
Matt?
I'm good.
Nathan?
Nope.
I have no comments.
Motion to
So
adjourn.
motion to adjourn. All right. Meeting adjourned.
Got 5 minutes.